Hey guys, welcome back. This is a part 2 of my Fixing Vaggie and to a lesser extent Charlie video. We're tackling Husk and Angel Dust today, as well as some new fits for Charlie and Vaggie as well. So if you like watching things in order, you might want to start with the previous video if you like. And FYI, I will be talking about the show as if you've seen it, so maybe watch the whole series first and come back. Spoilers will be kinda natural here, so yeah. Also, remember to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. It lets YouTube and me know that you would like more of this content. First, we're gonna start with Husk. So at some point while binging Has-Been Hotel redesigns on YouTube, it was really like a flash. Sometimes inspiration or a vision for a character design can kind of slap you in the face or strike you like lightning. And when it came to Husk, I got this flash of like inspiration, I guess, while watching a video. Okay, here is the idea. Okay, imagine Husk has the head of a panther, muscular, body tattoos, has a gut, but comically small shoes. Think Sid Curtis from FMA. He is both strong but also fat at the same time. That is the vision. Also, you'll find I struggle with getting my Husk's body down. I usually draw cute anime girls, and so to draw a panther man with a gut is like very new to me. This was a very challenging drawing for me. Anyways, and the panther aspect and the idea of making him way bigger and taller comes from the voice change. I don't think it's impossible or anything for a skinny man to have a deep voice. Even my twin bro was assigned a slender build, but he developed such a deep voice, you guys. Anyhow, I'm not gonna say it's unfathomable that a canonically skinny boy Husk has the buttery voice of Keith David. Like, I'm sure that makes sense to someone, but for me, to have Husk be first of all an alcoholic, which infamously drinking a lot of beer as a man can give you a pronounced gut, and then to also have Husk be given this buttery voice of Keith David, it's just jarring to me. And every time I see Husk and when he has speaking or singing lines, I'm just so in dire need for him to, first of all, have more dynamic shapes in general. Like, why is everyone so skinny? But also, I just need his design to portray the heaviness that I feel whenever he speaks. And don't get me wrong, Husk was not designed with Keith David in mind. I don't think so anyway. Yeah, I understand how we got here. But yeah, such a heavy voice and presence needs to be carried with a heavy character design, I guess. But this is nothing new, because literally every redesign video I see, they tend to give Husk more frame and more mass, which I love, and I wish somehow he could get a redesign, because like, okay, this is what I'm wondering. Is there defenders of Husk's current look? That's a wonder right there. If you think Husk's look is fantastic and doesn't need a change, then please leave a comment. I am so curious about your perspective, genuinely. Okay, well, I guess that rolls into what I do have to say about Husk's canon look. Honestly, I could do a whole video on just simplifying him. Like here, we are doing a more so complete overhaul, a reimagining of the character, but really when it comes to his canon look, okay, for starters, I get the whole he's a tuxedo cat, and yes, that's freaking adorable. I've had tuxedo cats, and it's adorable how they naturally look so dapper. But anyway, having Husk just wear suspenders and behaving like his tuxedo chest is a legit tuxedo, he always feels like he has his titties out. And I feel that way because other furry creatures, or furry demons, or feathery I guess, they all cover up, right? Like, with Viv's obsession with tuxedos and her insistence on having them on everyone else feels so conservative as a result. So when Husk is running around, it doesn't matter that it's fur, because anyone else who has fur feels the need to cover up. The fur is not valid as clothes, seems to be the rule here. So yeah, it's like Husk always has himself exposed, titties out, and I don't think that suits his character at all, and it's just so distracting to me. I do appreciate somewhat the shape language in his 2 feet. I do love his doofy kitty boy feet. I loathe his red eyebrows for a lot of reasons. First of all, what a nightmare to animate, but I can't dwell on that too long. Secondly though, I also just hate how long they are. I totally understand emphasizing the eyebrows on an angry character. That is as old as time itself, but I really think they went overboard on the length specifically. I just think it's hideous. It makes Husk out to be a rather ugly character design. And he's a cute boy. How did you fuck up the one cat character? Cats are famously adorable and handsome little creatures. So adding these eyebrows just make him hideous in my opinion. Okay, the tail is just horrendous and I don't understand the motivation behind it. It looks like a fin to me. Like a fish fin, and I don't understand. I know it's fur, you don't need to remind me that it's fur, I know it's fur. I can't even imagine what animal possesses this type of tail except like a griffin. Is it an eagle tail? But eagle tails are horizontal, not vertical. Is it feathers? Like his feathery wings? Okay, but whatever, I can't even discern what animal part this is. It's as though Viv or her sister said like, okay, well, I want a cute kitty boy demon, but for some reason, and I literally can't even with this decision, for some reason they thought like, a cat is not demony enough? Like, why? So we need to add 20 other animal parts to communicate that he is magical, otherworldly, and not just a furry cat man. But here's the thing, Angel Dust and pretty much all other anthropomorphic demons, they don't have like 20 animal parts on them. So like what the hell? Just let Husk be a cute kitty boy. I don't understand the tail choice or the wing choice especially. Why can't he be a kitty boy? Why is that not enough? And also, I just can't with all these patterns and markings. Why does he have hearts above his red, obnoxious eyebrows? Why does he need double eyebrow? There are ways of communicating his suit theme, hearts, spades, diamonds, and clovers, without slapping needless hearts above his already existing eyebrows. And this is just a me thing, but I think that spades and swords are by far the coolest symbol in suits and cards, and I would have much preferred more spades on his design instead of hearts. Because when he is swimming in hearts imagery, he's giving more the Queen of Hearts, Alice in Wonderland, but also Valentine's Day aesthetic. And spades not only look cool, but also immediately bring you to the deck of cards idea sooner than hearts do. So I hate the number of hearts in this look. Just a nightmare to animate and also a nightmare for your eyes to keep up with. Husk is probably the #1 worst character to see moving because he is just so busy. Also, like Vaggie, my eyes do not immediately go to his yellow eyes. My eyes immediately go to his red as fuck wings and his red as fuck tail. When I look at Husk, I consciously want to look at his eyes and his expressions, but I'm stuck looking at his wings, which are incredibly distracting because his wings are not only red, but has this speckled pattern on them. And to add insult to injury, he doesn't even use his friggin' wings. So they're just there to friggin' distract you and take up space. So I find it really difficult to register that he is slouching, which he does all the time, because I just can't see this character. It sounds like a me problem, but I know others have and do struggle with this too. I maybe see his face, but my whole attention really is at his friggin' wings at all times. And he doesn't even use them! If the show were to use Husk's wings for the sake of a joke, that still wouldn't really justify their existence. Anyway, let's move on to my vision for Husk. When I look at Canon Husk, I do not see the once was an overlord angle. Therefore, I wanted to give my Husk more of the appearance of someone who was once powerful but is now wearing this like low-level, unfancy working tux. But I feel like you can believe that if my Husk were to be dressed up, you could totally see him being a leader or a powerful figure. It just so happens now he is a bartender, and now he wears this shaggy working tux, you know? And now he has this little rag hanging from his pocket for his job. The tattoos also signify that he had a whole other life before working for Alistair, and they are designed to look like roulette wheels. Personality-wise, I wouldn't really change all that much about Husk. It's really more so making a different design to kind of insert all of Keith David's lines onto. As far as outfit communication goes, Husk has an untied bow around his neck to symbolize that he doesn't give a fuck. And he has the same rolled up sleeves that Vaggie has, and that is highly intentional. As a bartender, he needs to keep his sleeves rolled up, but symbolically, just like Vaggie, it means he has distinctly low status at the hotel as a mere worker. I'm super happy with my Husk. I know it is a massive departure from the original, but like I said, this idea just came to me, and I'm personally so glad that I decided to listen to my gut and make it happen. I absolutely love how my Husk came out. Let me know what you think in the comments below, so let's move on to Angel Dust. So I actually don't have much to say about Angel Dust. Like, sure, I'll talk about his canon look, but I actually didn't change much. I just gave him an outfit that I feel suits him more. I hope you aren't too disappointed by my Angel in the sense that I didn't give him those, like, fuzzy spider jaws that everyone else I see loves to give him. I just feel like that stuff clutters up his face, but I did give him pronounced fangs instead of the all-sharp teeth grin that everyone else has for some reason. Really, I just gave Angel more thoughty clothes. Oh, but I did give him way more chest fluff. I think they decreased his chest fluff for the show, and I'm petty about it. Another thing you'll see is I make him way more pink as opposed to just the light red. I feel like hotel stayers, like Angel, having distinct color palettes can let a viewer know the difference between a hotel staff member and a hotel stayer right off the bat, and I think it breaks up the repetition of the use of Vivzy Pop's red that people complain about. Okay, let's talk about Angel Dust's canon look. So personally, I'm not a huge fan of the choker with the bow tie. pick one. Like, I get chokers have to do with BDSM, I suppose, but yeah, it's a no for me, dog. Also, I don't like the tuxedo on him. That's not something male escorts wear, I don't think. And the pink horizontal stripes on his tux, they're not the worst idea ever, I guess. Something that they changed between the pilot and the canon show is the color of his gloves. In the pilot, they were all bright magenta for all 4 of his arms. I thought this was good because you could always see what Angel's arms were doing, and in theory, there should be nothing wrong really with making one pair white. You would think that making one pair of his arms a different color would be helpful actually, and I thought this was a good design choice initially, but in execution, I missed the all pink. Somehow the white of the second pair of his arms really doesn't work for me. I lose them somehow, which is crazy to say because most backgrounds in the show are red to purple, so you would think the white would pop. But yeah, I am finding myself losing Angel's white pair of arms. Lastly, about the gloves, for some reason they gave Angel these white frills at the tips of just his pink gloves. And I know I'm going on about the gloves a lot, but as a spider I think it's important to get those right. And I don't understand the addition of these white frills. It is just more complication that doesn't need to be there. Oh, and just an FYI, I tried to remove Angel's gloves, but I had to take that choice back immediately because it was so cursed, and I don't know why. I don't know why Angel's arms and hands being the light red is so hideous, but it is. So I had to swallow my pride and give Angel his gloves back, and I made them all pink because that is what I prefer. But yeah, outside of that, I don't really have many other complaints about Angel's look. I actually like the 6 other eyes existing under his main eyes. I think it looks like freckles, and I think it's really cute, so I actually really think Angel's look is strong, I would say, removed from the tux. I really feel like the use of tuxedos is really a crutch for Viv, and I'm baffled by this because Pinterest exists and probably other sources of fashion inspiration. Like, you do not need to crutch on one design aspect anymore. There's just no excuse for it. But let's get into what I did with my Angel real quick. So my goal with Angel was to make him way more fluffy. I think that Angel's fluffiness is a real draw to him, both in-universe and for viewers. So I made his hair as fluffy as I could, as well as his chest, which unfortunately I did cover his chest a bit, but I really like the choice I made to have this spider web sheer layer that connects to a turtleneck. I feel like it communicates the spider aspect in a simple and cute way. I gave him way more eyelash. I just really wanted to emphasize his femininity way more. I love that he is the one that is the most quote-unquote girly of the team, despite being a boy in terms of gender. And so I wanted to make his femininity really clear here. A popular thing I see with escort characters is like a revealing outfit under the hyper fluffy jacket, but also so that Angel's outfit I gave isn't like too revealing that it can't be on TV. And I decided to make his jacket as fluffy, pink, and as sparkly as possible. And I don't think I really need to justify that. I friggin' love that he is the pink-coated character so unapologetically. I feel like the show probably turned down his femme, and that makes me angry. I just think overall it turned out to be a super adorable design. I think that the drawing itself is really flowing. Let me know if you feel that this is too out of character for him in your opinion. That is totally okay. Let's move on to Charlie and Vaggie. You may be wondering why I even bothered to include Charlie and Vaggie. It is because I felt like 2 designs only may not be enough to attract people to my video. I also drew the thumbnail with the 4 characters on it, and so you gotta commit. And I've already started making my own Has-Been Hotel rewrite/AU in my head, so now I have a different vision for my Charlie, and therefore a slightly different design, while keeping Charlie's feeling as a character. Also, there were complaints about my first Charlie in my last video that she was wearing a skirt instead of pants. So I wanted to see if I could bring something new to the look whilst giving her the pants too. I felt like giving Charlie a suit with a completely different shape would just look less professional, so it was a real struggle to bring something new to the table, as it were. But then I thought about the gold elements in her last design, and I decided it would be cool if we added more blacks and golds to Charlie's design and really emphasized the regal hotel aspect of her look by giving her more details on her cuffs and bringing that gold across the suit. I also wanted to give Charlie this boss bitch belt that I sometimes see in work power suits for women. I like the belt. I think it really breaks up an otherwise blank red suit. As for her hair, the reason for this emphasized like hair curl is because I wanted Charlie to have a very simple hair clip look. So behind Charlie's head here in this design, you would see like a red rectangular hair clip suspending the back of her hair. I guess I'm just a sucker for hair being down, as well as I just wanted to do something different for my Charlie's hair compared to what I've seen other people doing. In terms of my Charlie and my vision for my Charlie, a big complaint I have for the original is that Charlie Charlie is supposed to feel like an underdog. She's this princess of hell that no one really thinks about and no one cares about her authority. The sinners around her don't mind at all being rude to her right to her face, and that would be really interesting if the sinners knew they could get away with mistreating Charlie, because if there was some kind of plot point where Lucifer actively doesn't care about how Charlie is treated. But the thing is that Lucifer does seem to care about Charlie, so it would be in the sinners' interest to be kind to Charlie to not evoke the wrath of Lucifer, no? But the show doesn't address any of this. Sinners treat Charlie as average as any other sinner. Charlie never exercises any authority as a princess. Hell, the Goetia family from Helluva seem far more powerful and far more royal than Lucifer and Charlie combined. But back to this underdog idea, it turns out that Charlie, despite not necessarily being treated with the reverence that a princess should be, Charlie still doesn't really come across as an underdog because Lucifer and Charlie get along just fine, and multiple times Lucifer offers riches and help to Charlie at any time. Charlie and Lucifer having a perfectly fine relationship. I think it hurts there ever being this idea that Lucifer and Charlie have daddy issues or that Charlie is this underdog. Basically, Charlie, by the end of season 1, no less, has the complete support of Lucifer, and I just think it would be far more compelling and easy to write a plot where Lucifer doesn't believe in sinners. It would make a lot of sense as a parent that Lucifer feels protective of Charlie and doesn't want her mingling with the sinners. Firstly, because of their being royalty, sinners would be the commoners, and I could easily see Lucifer regarding sinners as less than, both in a class way as well as the whole you had one chance to live out your life with free will and you chose to be a bad person and waste your life thing. I think it would make a million times more sense that Lucifer has given up on humans, but especially sinners. And secondly, a lot of sinners go to hell for things like theft, violence, betrayal, and SA, and Lucifer would not feel comfortable with his naive, optimistic, beautiful daughter to be cozying up to these people who have more often than not committed horrible acts in life and in hell. Like, it literally makes no sense that Lucifer is so supportive of this arrangement. Also, if Charlie did not have any Lucifer support, outside of maybe purchasing the hotel out of kindness, outside of that, I don't think Lucifer should support her in any other way. That doesn't mean, however, that Lucifer should never appear in the show. In fact, I think having him being a dissenting opinion would be fascinating, as well as it would make Lucifer an antagonist to Charlie. I don't think that he would go out of his way to ruin her life or sabotage her, but I do think that he is an ever-present figure that disapproves of Charlie's beliefs, and he would constantly beat down Charlie's self-esteem and resolve. The drama between these two would be fascinating. So right off the bat, my Charlie would not have Lucifer's support, and this would encourage the idea that Charlie is an underdog, as well as just make more sense in my opinion. Another goal with rewriting Charlie is just to make her have more agency as the main protagonist, by making her the primary decision maker and make her more cool. I was bothered by the end of season 1 the more that I think about it. I hate that image of Charlie sitting on Lucifer's arm while he says something cool, I guess, to the angels at the end. Why couldn't that line belong to Charlie? It just feels like a child getting their dad to yell at a schoolyard bully who crushed Charlie's sandcastle, you know? My dad's really gonna get you guys and you'll all feel sorry. Energy. As well as the scene where Lucifer magics Charlie's hotel back. When your father is the king of the realm that you inhabit, it doesn't really work because it begs the question, why doesn't he just sap all of Charlie's problems away as they arise, you know? If he can just summon her hotel back if it falls, I'm not really worried about the hotel and everything surrounding the hotel. Daddy Lucifer can swoop in and fix everything at any time, and it's a real tension killer. The simple decision to make Lucifer not supportive of Charlie's ideas would literally be a small tweak that isn't world-breaking or anything. I think it would solve all of this, as well as giving the main protagonist Charlie the agency that she needs. My Charlie would also have a pet firebird or phoenix, and I know that seems out of nowhere, but I can explain myself. The phoenix famously symbolizes rebirth, which is appropriate for Charlie's system of redeeming sinners. The rebirth is directly a reference to how it seems that a sinner has to redeem their sin or commit a selfless act and then die and then be reborn as an angel in order to get to heaven, a la Serpentius. And I think the phoenix here symbolizes that perfectly. I know that phoenixes are not known to be necessarily demonic, but cats aren't either, so. And lastly, to speak of why Charlie's hand is on fire is because Charlie is a mix of Lucifer and Lilith. Lucifer, from what I understand, is summoned on Earth to make deals with mortals. They would wish for a life of wealth and power in exchange for their souls. Therefore, Lucifer could have some kind of deal magic, and that would get passed on to Charlie. My initial idea for Charlie making deals is not that she promises wealth and power for a mortal soul, but rather Charlie's deal magic has to do with seeing a sinner's sin. See? So Charlie would shake the hand of a sinner, and some kind of trade is placed where Charlie can now see your sin. And yes, a sinner can have many sins. However, what I'm talking about is the original sin that sent the mortal to hell in the first place. Now that Charlie has seen your sin, and there being some kind of trade-off, she can identify the sin and figure out how to redeem it. Maybe Charlie can own a soul that she has agreed to see the sin of. Not that Charlie would ever abuse a soul. The important thing is that there needs to be consent from the sinner for Charlie to see their original sin. How does Charlie see a sin? What I think would be cool is, you know that scene where Hades explains Meg's deal to him in Disney's Hercules? There would be a flame visual of a person's sin, exactly like the flame magic in Hercules, illustrating the sin that got the mortal to hell in the first place. As you can see, my version of Hazbin Hotel would be very sin-centric. There would be a lot of talk about what is fair, what constitutes redemption, and if there are some souls that are too corrupt to be redeemed and sent to heaven. And I think that would be good because the show's premise is all about redeeming sinners. Or it should be anyway. I'm sorry, but Charlie throwing sleepovers and catch-me therapy sessions is really lame. If we're gonna talk about what is fair and what isn't fair, and what sinners consider bad or what angels consider bad, show me! Show it to me. That is what the premise kind of promises me, so Charlie would be much cooler as a result. She would take the power of dealership from her father Lucifer, not to destroy or possess someone's soul, but rather to help people, twisting her father's magic but for good. This way Charlie would establish herself as something so much more than just that princess that nobody cares about. I would also have it so that her flame magic is used more frequently and more casually, but she is young, so she doesn't know all of her powers yet, so she could get stronger as the series goes on too. So my Charlie's arc would be that she starts out as this joke of a princess, but eventually becomes a real source of hope and leadership in hell. The sinners would gradually learn to respect Charlie because Charlie would prove over and over that she is dedicated to making life better for sinners. As well as it would make a lot of sense that Alistair wants Charlie's soul now because her soul has powers that Lucifer and Heaven have never even imagined. So it feeds the story well, I think, justifying why Alistair wants Charlie's soul so badly. So that is why Charlie's hand is on fire in this drawing, because that is how the steel magic is typically illustrated in cartoons, like Gravity Falls as an example. Whew. But I gotta move on to Vaggie here. I'm sure I'll do more Hazbin Hotel, so maybe I will put some more fanfic writing in those videos too. But we gotta move on to Vaggie for the sake of length. So for Vaggie, I just feel like I kinda nailed Vaggie's design the first time, although it's okay if you disagree. I much prefer my other Vaggie. I went for more hotel with Charlie, so I decided to go more hotel with Vaggie's look as well. However, I don't think it is as successful as my Charlie for this video, or as successful as my Vaggie from last video either. But it isn't worthless to show in my opinion, as I drew Vaggie very cute here. Maybe Vaggie can wear this on formal days, like formal events and such. And this is a general question, but I would literally love for you guys to leave comments about what would look good on Vaggie. I mean, in regards to a work outfit and even casual outfits too, I am kind of at a loss as to what to put her in, especially for work. Also, not to mention, but I almost lost all of the line art process for my Vaggie in this video as well. So this drawing ended up being kind of cursed, and I realized that while drawing that I had less ideas for her than I thought. I do have a new idea for her, but I'm not really sure if I will actually follow through with that. And I also want to mention that please do not think that I don't care about Vaggie. I actually really like Vaggie, even though she isn't super well written. I still like her, so when I ask for outfit suggestions for her, I do mean it. I want to pump out a really great Vaggie at some point in the future. So you can send me your Vaggie outfit suggestions to my Twitter at ToastyGhosty71, and you can send me suggestions or even concept art of your own to my Bluesky at toastyghosty.bsky.social as well. I really love interacting with you guys. Let's cover some brief rewrite/AU stuff with my Vaggie. So a complaint I have for the show is that the characters don't get to meet and get used to each other. There are viewers of Hazbin Hotel that seriously didn't put together that Charlie and Vaggie were an item at all, and that's just bad writing on its own. But for me specifically, I take issue with how everyone has been introduced, or rather not introduced. I feel like these characters were plopped into the hotel, and if you want to know how these characters actually met, you have to seek the wiki or other supplemental material to read that somewhere. I know Vig probably didn't want to write that for the show for whatever reason and just wanted to skip to the point that we saw in episode 1, but I would have liked to see probably the point where Charlie purchases the hotel and onwards, probably with her family's own money. Then she would need to hire security for the hotel, which a rogue Vaggie, who has been living in hell already for years now, pretending to be some kind of moth demon, would apply for the job, and Charlie would hire Vaggie. So for my rewrite, I would have it so that Vaggie actually doesn't have the greatest opinion of Charlie from the get. Vaggie would probably feel like Charlie is just some rich kid, and that rich kid is just gonna toy with all the sinners of hell like all the other royals do. So Vaggie's opinion of Charlie would probably not be great. However, she can't be super rude to her as Charlie is her employee now. I thought their dynamic grows slowly but surely, wherein Charlie is this innocent kind of people pleaser, and Vaggie has street smarts and even a keen ability to read others that is helpful to Charlie. Vaggie helps Charlie to break out of her people pleasing shell and teaches Charlie that it is okay to show less pleasant emotions like anger, sadness, and frustration from time to time. That you should never hide your true feelings just because it may make some people uncomfortable sometimes. Sometimes you don't need to please others, and that it is actually good to express a more honest self to others. This authenticity can even help with the hotel, but really Charlie's whole life in general. And Charlie brings a hope and a light to Vaggie that has probably been absent all of Vaggie's existence. And I just thought it would be so cute if Charlie is the one to form feelings for Vaggie first and keeps them to herself, obviously. However, Vaggie is much slower to gain feelings for Charlie. Charlie would have to show her dedication to sinners and the citizens of hell, and Charlie would need to show that badass side to Vaggie that she usually hides behind a people-pleaser facade. Once Vaggie sees how passionate and brave Charlie really is, then the feelings on Vaggie's end would start to form, you see? But all of this would really take time, and therefore it could be a true slow burn, and this is yet another element to keep viewers watching, as a forming romance that spans multiple seasons for a good reason is actually really compelling to watch. And we get to see more of pre-Charlie's girlfriend, Vaggie. Much more closed off from the world, grumpy, and even an asshole sometimes, but still street smart and just has a smidge enough empathy to help Charlie through this hotel business, despite Vaggie feeling inside like this will all probably blow over and amount to nothing. I personally love watching characters truly grow and become very different people by the end of the series. I love watching their first episode again and saying like, man, this character used to be way more of an asshole. That's way more satisfying than plopping a bunch of characters together and insisting they're friends, you know? However, I feel that is it for Vaggie because my computer shit itself and I lost most of my line art footage. So now we will wrap things up. Thanks so much for watching my Has-Been Hotel Part 2. I understand if you don't like my Husk, especially if you feel it is too large a departure from the OG Husk. I just really like a surprisingly muscular man that still has a belly. It's super underrated and it rules every time. I really love my Angel. I think he turned out the best out of everyone for this video. He kind of raised the bar for this video. My Charlie I think is super adorable. I actually did Charlie again thinking that I could one-up this one, but I ended up kind of not really liking it. You let me know how you feel about the two. My Vaggie, though her outfit isn't screaming at me, I still like the drawing because of how cute she is. I may try to incorporate small amounts of Viv's red in her design next time, but we'll see. Next, I want to do Alistair and Nifty, of course. And I'm sure I'll probably have some redos in there, probably. But if I don't decide to do the redo direction, I can always try my hand at Lucifer too, so maybe Lucifer and Alistair for my next vid. As well as I will be making preparations for Magical Girl May this year. I want to have content for that month as well. Sorry if this video took so long. I really struggled with Charlie and she's probably the one I struggled with the most every time. I don't know how to end videos, so smell you later. Hey guys, so just some thumbnail thoughts for you. I thought I might explain the idea for the thumbnail, just to explain the quote-unquote joke of the thumbnail. Not that I necessarily think that you're going to cry with uproarious laughter over it, but the idea behind it is that Charlie and Vaggie and Angel are just getting minor tweaks in the video, whereas Husk is getting like a complete overhaul and a huge change to his body type and silhouette. So while Husk is getting like major surgery, the other three are apathetic to his suffering and going on a shopping spree. So that is the joke, quote unquote, with the thumbnail for anybody who is wondering. Anywho, just gonna briefly touch on fixing real quick. I will still use the term fixing when discussing outfits that I truly hate, but something I really should have mentioned in the first video is why I was so passionate about this in the first place. There are some has-been hotel / hell of a boss redesign videos that start with a whole paragraph about how they promise they aren't fixing the characters in these shows, and I felt while watching them that as an artist you should never feel like you have to do this or you will get a wave of hate for redesigning these characters. I felt that it was unique to the Has-Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss shows compared to other shows that tend to get redesigns. Obviously, this is because the fans of these two shows are very vocal about liking these designs, and they find it offensive if someone suggests they need to be redesigned or tweaked, and even take greater offense when the person says they need to be fixed. And as you can see, I found that ridiculous. I felt that artists should not feel like they essentially have a gun pointed at them if they say they don't like the designs of Has-Been Hotel or Hell of a Boss. I feel passionately, I guess, about people being able to discuss their dislike of a design openly, so long as they don't sincerely go about it as if they are 100% correct. And that's the thing about disliking something. Just because you say you dislike something, that doesn't mean that people who do like said thing are flawed for enjoying whatever it is. It's literally just an opinion that's really neither here nor there. I think that Husk's design is pretty ugly. It's really the eyebrows. But I'm sure there are people who absolutely love his design. And honestly, I can see that perspective, and that's totally fine. He is a kitty boy after all. I enjoy hearing the other side of things. But the whole thing with the paragraphs of like, I promise I'm not fixing, as well as even the titles of the videos saying without fixing, and then you add the phenomenon of the whole Lavender Town situation that happened when she had to delete one of her videos because she drew some designs that were not super researched and therefore suffered in execution. I was like, you know what? I'm going to be honest about what I like and what I dislike. And if the internet wants to have a shitfest over me explaining what I think are the strengths and weaknesses of these designs, then fine. I want to redesign these characters, but I'm not apologizing for it or walking on eggshells about it. I want to be clear and transparent about what I dislike about something, and I also want to give praise where it is due. Basically, I just don't want my channel to be one where I constantly apologize for what I think when I address a character design. I want my audience to know that I will be clear about what I think. And if you want to leave a comment where you disagree, that's perfectly fine. In fact, I invite the discussion. I'm not going to crumble because one YouTube comment disagrees with me, you know? So that's where that was coming from in my last vid, and I really think I should have included it because someone just walking in will be like, what the hell? So yeah, I thought I might explain that. Okay, so this is just a warning, and I am going to be touching on Angel's situation briefly. And so if you need a trigger warning for that, then I'm watching a trigger warning now. And if you just don't want to hear the discussion about Angel's predicament, then that is a-okay if you want to click off, and that now would be a good time to do that. Okay, so I said this about my Husk earlier. I said I wouldn't change Husk's character, but that's not entirely true. Something small but important I want to address was the fact that Husk sings Loser Baby to Angel, even though a lot of people have felt that Husk calling someone in Angel's situation to be a loser pretty offensive, and understandably so. So a tweak I would make is that Husk learns that Angel's soul belongs to someone, and he relates to that because, as we know, Husk sold his soul to someone as well. So he thinks that he and Angel are pretty equal in that way at the time, and so then he sings Loser Baby. There may even be times where Husk actually feels Angel is spoiled because from Husk's perspective initially, all Angel seems to do is party and get paid for being hot. But in my rewrite, my Husk would learn much later about the true depths of the cruelty of Angel's situation, to which Husk would have more of the attitude of, Angel, we really gotta get you out, and is genuinely stressed and panicked about the truth of Angel's predicament. So I guess the change is Husk isn't really treating Angel's situation with the seriousness it deserves, I guess. As well as I feel, and a lot of people feel, that Angel and Husk's situations are not all that comparable and certainly not equal, which is really this kind of insensitivity about the subject matter that is present in the show in general. Like, yes, there is the episode where Viv is communicating what Angel is going through is bad, and it is, but then there are frequent jokes about exposition and
acts that are directly related to Val, and by extension Angel, and just jokes about Angel's exhaustion, being treated like any other 9 to 5, which also comes across as unserious, and that really comes across as insensitive and kind of hurts the audience taking Angel's struggle seriously. But that's just me, you may not feel that way. But yes, overall it is really more so a tweaking of the timeline of events here, as well as Husk eventually acknowledging that Angel's situation is a lot worse than his in theory. Not that I personally believe in comparing suffering, like I don't in life like weighing sufferings against each other, because I don't think it is fair and it can be used to be extremely hurtful to people. That said, I personally feel Angel's situation is worse than Husk's, because Husk is indeed owned by Alistair, and yes, that sucks, but Alistair isn't hurting Husk in that way repeatedly. So yes, neither situation is good, but it appears that all Alistair wants out of Husk is to be his bartender, and that seems pretty straightforward. And so story-wise, I would like there to be a scene where my Husk realizes that Angel's situation is much worse than it seems on the surface. And therefore the show can really acknowledge that this type of scenario with Angel is indeed bad and nothing to laugh about. Husk realizing it would parallel the audience absorbing this too. So there is that. There is my change to that. As well as I would have Husk being Alistair's bartender more clear, and that Husk makes Alistair his favorite drink each night, which would make a cute opportunity for Angel, Husk, Alistair, and whoever else to have some natural socialization scenes at the bar, which I think would be really nice. But with that, I think that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching this far. If you did, you are the realest.